everyone, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable shadow box using the floaties to stamp as well as the stuffy doll 4. So let's get started.
For this card, I'm making a shadow box and I'm cutting out 2 pieces of sea glass cardstock and using this large die in the shadow box die set to cut these out. Once they're die cut, take your rectangle, or not your rectangle, your square die that's in the set, place it in the center of one of those die cuts to cut out a hole in the middle and run that through your die cut machine. Take a scoring tool and just score, fold, and then score along the score lines on each one of those pieces. We're going to add glue to the top of the flap that does not have the hole cut out. Then we're going to take the flap with the hole cut out and attach that so that these pieces are connected. Then we're going to put glue on the top of the other flap and attach to the back. And sometimes it helps if you just lay it flat and then just press it down just to adhere that. Okay, and that's how we form our shadow box. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. So now we need to decide what we want inside our shadow box. And I'm going to be using this die that came with the set. I'm going to use it as waves because I'm going to have an ocean theme in the background. Next, just take your borders and add some ink. I'm just using the same color ink, which is the pool, to the tops of these borders. Okay, fold them all the score lines. I already did the first 2, so I'm going to do these as well. Make sure you decide which way you want these to display in your shadow box. And then you can start adhering them to the sides. So this first one I'm going to set far back, and I'm going to go ahead and just put some glue on the side of one. Put it here in my shadow box. It's going to go all the way against the wall of the shadow box. And press that down, and then do the other side as well. Okay, and then just put your thumb inside the shadow box and press those down. All right, so since my back wave, the top part here on the left is higher than the one on the right, I'm going to, for the next one, just reverse that. So instead of having the top part over here, the higher part, or I should say the higher part here, the higher part's going to be on the right, just to add some more dimension. And you're going to line that one up just where the last one left off. And press that down. And do the same thing on this side, on the other side. So come in where the last one left off, press that down. I'm going to take this last one and just snip off a little bit of the bottom. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to have some dimension in my waves, and if I would have thought of it sooner, I would have made this last one a little bit higher than the middle one. So now when I put this one inside, you can see that you can see more of this middle wave because this last one has some of that cardstock cut off the bottom. So go ahead and add your glue, and that's going to come backed up right to that last one that you added. But notice it's also going to be even at the bottom and not at the top, okay? So make it even at the bottom and press it flat against the wall of your shadow box. I'm going to need to trim a little bit of this off. Okay, and there is the inside. I die cut 2 clouds and a sun, and I'm just going to add some ink. I'm putting some Blue Jay ink onto the sides of the cloud just because I wanted to have, you know, a light blue reflection off the clouds. I didn't want them to look gray. And then I'm gonna just ink up that sun with some banana. I'm gonna go ahead and apply my sun. And when I add it, I wanna make sure that it is positioned so that I can see it, so I don't want it hiding underneath this cardstock. So I wanna be able to see it. I'm gonna add some foam to the back of one of these clouds so that it's going to be positioned in front of the sun. Just covering the sun just a little bit. And then the other one is gonna lay flat with some glue. And I also used a border die just to cut a border out of some ginger snap cardstock, and I'm gonna use this for my sand. So I have a stamp, which is sand, and it's just a bunch of little dots. This is from the Island to Visit set, and I'm just going to ink these dots up with some chocolate ink, and I'm just going to put them on this ginger snap cardstock, and it just adds some texture to the sand. I'm also going to take some of my ginger snap ink and just put a little bit more on the edges. So I went ahead and cut my sand just so that it is the same width of my shadow box. So you'll need to measure your shadow box and just see how wide your shadow box is. Your measurement could be different than mine depending on how you glued your paper down. But mine comes just one tick mark beyond the 5¼ inch mark. So that's how wide I cut mine, just to make sure that it fits from end to end. And then depending on how tall you want your sand, you just need to cut off a little bit at the bottom, because I wanted some of my ocean to show. And I also wanted to make sure that none of this border here is showing, which I could have cut it a little bit further down. But I'm gonna add a sentiment to that, so it's plenty thick. So decide how you want to cut yours down. I'm using the palm tree from the Island to Visit set, and I'm going to stamp that up with some kiwi ink, and it's gonna be on my kiwi cardstock. So I'm just gonna ink that up a few times just to get a real solid impression, and I am using my Misty to help me do that. I'm gonna use the matching die and die cut that out. And I also did the tree bark out of the ginger snap with the shadow layer and the chocolate cardstock out of the top layer. And I'm just going to adhere those together. So I added a sentiment to my sand. This is from the More Floaties to Stamp, Hope Your Birthday is a Splash. And I put it on the tallest part of that hillside border, just so that makes sure it all fits. And I'm just inking it up with some black ink. This is the Licorice Stamps of Life ink. And I'm gonna adhere this to my shadow box. So I think what I'm gonna do is I am just going to add the glue to the shadow box. I just want it around this edge. I don't wanna adhere it flat against the ocean in case I wanna add anything there as I'm putting my shadow box together. So I'm gonna put glue here along all of these edges. And then just make sure it's even at the bottom and on the sides, and then just press that down. Get your finger underneath there and just press that down really well.
Here I went ahead and stamped some of the floaty images onto some Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth cardstock using my Spectrum Noir Finesse Black ink, and I'm doing some coloring with my Copic markers, and I'm going to color a few of these floaties up and use them in my card. And I will link all of the colors in my blog as well as all of the products in this video, so you can head on down to the description box in YouTube and you'll see a link to my blog where you can head on over there if you're interested in seeing what colors I use to color these up. You will also see coming up that I colored up the Stuffy Doll 4 image, but I don't show that on video. And if you're interested in seeing how I colored up the Stuffy Doll that I use in this box, I will link a video down below where I do show the coloring of that. So I will go ahead and set this to music while you watch the coloring.
next I die cut all of the rafts and the little girl, and I'm gonna take this duck raft because I want her to be in that duck, and I'm gonna take the top layering piece that you can actually paper piece, and I'm going to put it over top of the ducks. Now note that I did cut it out with the shadow die. Now I'm just gonna die cut it again with the layering piece so that I can get a hole cut out of the center. So when that comes out of the die cut machine, it just cuts the white away, and then you'll see that you can actually then take the center part out, and then we can put her right inside of there like she's inside that float. So these little floats, well, this one in particular, can fit her. Isn't that cute? Just love it. So now we're ready to start putting our decorations in our box. And because I am putting this girl, I'm actually gonna put her towards the back left, and notice that I'm already blocking the sun. I don't wanna block this cloud, so I'm going to lift this up, and I'm just going to replace the cloud somewhere else. And if I would have had this planned out at the beginning, I probably would have put that sun somewhere else. So I'm just going to maybe put this cloud, maybe just so it's layering the other one, just so there's some more stuff going on there in the background. And I'm just going to lay everything out. I am going to put the palm tree over here, and I'm thinking the flamingo is going to be down here facing the palm tree, and this unicorn float will be facing that way. So that's just an idea of how I'm going to do everything. So now I'm going to go ahead and start adhering everything down. So let's start with the girl, and I want to make sure that her hands are behind the float. I just like it that way better. And when I put it in onto the wave, when I put her in onto the wave, her hands are going to be tucked behind, and her body is going to be glued to this last wave. Okay, so I'm going to adhere her legs down as well as, so I'm just going to put some glue here, and I'm going to put some glue underneath this part, but that's not going to be pressed against her body. That's actually going to be pressed against the wave. So when we tuck that in, and then just put that how you want it. And then once you have everything, reach your hand under here and press everything down. So now I'm just going to come in here and just add some glue a little bit behind the neck. Press that against her body just so that it's hooked onto there, as well as behind the back side. I'm probably going to just put some glue just on her arm because that's where it's going to connect. I might have put too much on there. And then just press that down to hold it. And you can see how her body is hooked to the inside there. You could also, if you wanted to, come in here and just put some glue on her hand just to make sure that stays flat. And press that down and do the same with the other if it's touching the blue at all. All right, so she's in there really good and snug. I want to just keep placing this palm tree where I want it because I need to figure out where I'm putting this unicorn float so that you can actually see it. Because I don't want to block the unicorn, I don't want to it be blocked by the palm tree. So I think there is about good. So I'm just going to put some glue from its neck down. We can go ahead and put this palm tree down. So I'm just going to put some glue along the edge here. Okay, and I'm going to put glue all along, it looks like just along this. I'm not going to put glue on the back of the actual tree. It's just going to go on here because that's what's going to be attached. All right, and I'm gonna put the flamingo down here at the bottom, and I'm only gonna put glue up to the neck and just along the body. All right, so there is my shadow box with all the fun floats inside. Hope your birthday is a splash. I think that is just so adorable. Now this actually will fold closed just like that. And it might be a little bit too long for up at the top here to actually fit in a 5x7 envelope. So here I went ahead and just tried it to see if it'll fit, and you can see it will not close because that palm tree is a little bit too tall. So you will need to put it in a larger envelope if you are going to mail it, but it is so stinking cute and could just sit up on your table just like that. And isn't that adorable?